I think it could start with something that the audience may not understand why these two things are together, but the beginning of your career was really in engineering and film criticism, correct?
That's correct. I was an engineering major at Stanford, and I was writing for the Stanford Daily, and I found out that the film critics, they had two film critics for the Daily, got free passes to all the theaters in Palo Alto. So I wrote a couple of sample reviews, and they took me on, and I started looking at films with more detail, and I decided I didn't want to be an engineer. I wanted to work in films, but I was a senior, and I figured I'll get the degree and get out of here.
So do you recall what kinds of films you were seeing, and obviously they influenced your filmmaking?
I saw all kinds of films. I remember particularly a John Ford classic Western, My Darling Clementine, which was a brilliant film, and I gave that the best review of any film I saw.
I mean, as your career went on, and there were ups and downs, was there ever a moment where you said, "Oh, this film business is for the birds. I should have stuck with the engineering"?
At the beginning, yes. I couldn't get a job anywhere. The studios were highly unionized, and you couldn't really break in, and there was almost no independent work. So I finally said, okay, I'll be an engineer. I went to work for U.S. Electrical Motors on Monday, and I quit on Thursday. They told me, the head of the personnel said, Roger, don't be hasty. Come back to work on Friday, think about it on the weekend, and then make your decision on Monday. And I said, I really cannot come back tomorrow. The 4 days is it.
That was good that you actually saw the grass was not any greener on the engineering side. Well, as Randy pointed out, drive-ins have always been part of your career. But I wanted to hear a little bit more about the 21st century iteration of the drive-in that you created. One of the first online streaming channels that was called Corman's Drive-In. You are still blazing new distribution channels for your films in your library. Can you talk about how that came about?
Yes, we decided to start our own channel, Corman's Drive-In. It did well for a couple of years, and then we got offers from bigger entities, and we realized we could make more money going with the majors than going with our own.
Well, and so when you were making movies for the actual drive-ins, like Randy was saying, the outdoor theaters with big screens and fields and people in cars, sometimes watching the movie, sometimes doing other things, what were the specific strategies that you used to make movies for drive-in theaters?
Primarily, I was making films for the youth market. The major studios were, of course, making films with their stars. It takes generally years for a star to become established. So they were making films, say, with a 50-year-old leading man and a 40-year-old leading lady, and the audience was 18, 19, and 20. And I felt the thing to do, since I couldn't afford those stars anyway, was simply to make youth-oriented films in the genres that were fairly popular. We did teenage action films, we did science fiction, we did horror, we did a number of comedies, and we started a number of actors who were at the beginning of their careers. Since we couldn't go as stars, we picked young people that we thought were very good, people like Jack Nicholson and Charles Bronson at the beginning, and then a number of others.
You broke the mold for marketing movies and drive-ins in other ways, too. I mean, you actually put Ingmar Bergman in a drive-in, didn't you?
Yes. Ingmar Bergman's Academy Award-winning film Cries and Whispers, we played in the usual art houses. You generally started in New York and Los Angeles to get the reviews, and then you spread out to the major cities and the college towns around the country, and that was it. It was the art house circuit. We had done that. Fall was coming on, and the drive-ins were open in the fall, but they didn't do much business because the weather was turning, and most studios didn't want to put pictures into drive-ins at that time. And I knew the drive-ins were looking for films, and I thought, why not put Cries and Whispers in a drive-in and see what happens? And everybody said, you can't put an art film in a drive-in. And everybody was totally delighted because we did average business.
And I don't think you've really seen Cries and Whispers until you've seen it on a drive-in screen. The way
Actually, I got a letter from Ingmar Bergman thanking me for bringing his film to an audience he had never expected to reach.